Hello there, peeps. We are going to do a nature study on the daffodil, which you should be able to find in your backyard right now, or in your front yard or something. So you can ask mom or whoever if you could pick one, because it helps to actually look at what you're going to draw. You know, we know so many things in our memory, and one of the things we talk about in class is to draw what you see, not what you think you see, right? So let's take a little tour of this daffodil here. So you'll notice, maybe it shows up on my camera, I'm not sure, but the petals are a little bit lighter shade than this fluted part in the center here. This is more of a vibrant gold than these. These are a little bit more pastel. And how many leaves do you count around the daffodil? 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has its, is that the stamen right there? And this bell part here, if I turn it this way, this sort of looks like a bell almost, doesn't it? The shape of it here, right? And then the petals connect to the base of the bell. And this fringed part is very delicate, isn't it? Going up and down, and very, very delicate and pretty. And then the stem, the flower petals connect down here at the base, at the stem, which is green. And then it has this little brown, thin, paper-like part to it. That's just how it grows. I guess that's what the seed comes out of, is right there. And the stem, pretty much the same in width. It gets a little bit thicker as it goes down towards the bottom. And the leaves are kind of skinny, and depends on your daffodils. Mine are very pencil thin, skinny leaves, and they're at the base and they're really long and they're not connected to mine. So here's our daffodil. Now you'll notice that the petals aren't perfect, are they? No, they're not really solid shaped like we see in drawings generally. But if you're doing a life study of something, you would actually draw in these little tears, either from, growing, the wind, or bugs, or, just wear and tear on the flower. So it's very delicate. The petals, they get fat here at the width part, and then they taper off as they fan out, right? And this one's kind of pointed, whereas this one isn't, right? So some of the petals are sort of thick, not thick, but wide, and others are more narrow. And your daffodil will look different than my daffodil, right? They're not all created the same, which is pretty amazing. So let's do a little sketch of the daffodil. I'm going to break it down for you into parts. Try to keep my paper in the center. And so we'll start with the fluted part of the daffodil, this fringy part right here. Now, depending on how you hold your flower, you can hold it straight on, right? You can tilt it to one side or maybe the other side. You get fancy, you can learn how to do the back of the flower. But we're gonna kind of do the flower on a little angle today, sort of as if I was holding it like this, okay? So go ahead and get your sketchbook and pencil, and let's just practice right now drawing the daffodil. So I have a little sketchbook here, and I'm going to draw the flower on an angle, and we'll start with the fringy part. So when you turn it, it's no longer a circular shape. It kind of becomes oval when you angle it to the side there. So very lightly with your pencil, go ahead and draw an oval. Okay. Now you'll notice when I sketch, I'm not pressing down hard on my pencil and making one continuous line, hoping that I do it right. I just kind of make these soft, quick movements with my pencil to create the shape, right? So that's oval shaped. I'm fine with that. So I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to create this fluted part of the daffodil here. And I'm just going to represent that by making kind of squiggly lines. They don't have to be even or perfect, right? So you're just going to follow your oval, and you're going to make that pretty fringed part there. All right, now we're going to make kind of the bell shape of the daffodil. So this part here, okay, we're going to draw lines coming down here and here. All right. So I'm not going to start at the edge here. I'm going to come in a little bit, about like that, and just sort of make like a U shape. Got water on my paper. So you can tilt your paper to the side and think about the letter U and sort of come and get smaller at the base. So it's wider here and narrower at the base here, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and draw our petals. There are 6, right? We counted 6. So they're kind of a tear-shaped almost. So something like that. And they're going to overlap each other. Can you see my pencil? Is it dark enough? I hope. Okay. So if I overlap it, then part of my petal is going to be hidden behind another one. Okay, so this one is going to overlap and come back. All right, and here's my 3rd petal. So I'm kind of going around, I'm thinking about a circular shape, right? And maybe I'll do this petal on this side. And I need to get another guy in there, so I'm gonna put him off to the side like that. Okay. And then I need this little part of the flower here. The stamen, I think it's called. So I'm just going to draw another kind of, well, first let me make the edge of the fluted flower. It's just kind of showing that it goes down and in. And then this part here. And then I'm just going to kind of make curved lines to represent how the petal folds out in that fluted shape. And then we've got the stem that can kind of come down. The stem is sort of consistent on a daffodil. And then I'm just going to kind of make that leafy, kind of papery brown look with some markings. And then the leaves come up, something like that. Right. I'm going to clean up this little overlap here. Now you can paint yours, you can use crayons, you can use markers, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Now you can do a study of your daffodil and just make sketches of it going in different directions. So I drew the back, the front, the side, the other side, just made some light sketches. And then for your, however you want to put some color on this. This was, what did I use? I used colored pencils, and then I outlined it in markers. And you can outline it in markers in either black, all black, like a kind of a coloring book look, or you can use crayons. All right, so I think for this, I might paint this and then go back in with a Sharpie and outline my flower. So my yellows, we said that there's 2 different yellows there, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of wet my flower. My paintbrush first. I'm gonna get water first. There's lots of different techniques with watercolor. You can use dry on dry, you can do wet on wet, which is what I'm gonna do. You can use a little water, you can use just different variations to get different effects. So I'm gonna wet all this in. And what that does is it kind of spreads the color around, and it has its own sort of organic movement to it. So I'm gonna put some color on my paintbrush and get some yellows on here. That kind of worked out because the yellow from the middle, which is darker like we said, really kind of took to the middle of my painting here, didn't it? So one way to thin out your color in watercolor is to add water. If I don't have so much water on my paintbrush, then the color is more vibrant. And you can just use whatever watercolors you have. This is just my set at home here. These are happy little flowers, aren't they? Okay, so I might add just a little bit of orange to my yellow, just to deepen the center part some more. So not a lot, just a little. And some daffodils, they're actually different colors. Like some of them have white petals and orange centers, like super orange. Just depends on what variety you get. All right, so I'm gonna put that little brown spot, papery part, this part right here, on the stem. And then do the rest in green. Start it right here. Now for this little project, I'm able to use the same paintbrush because the lines are generally the same. Sometimes when you're doing painting, you want to use different size paintbrushes depending on what your project is. So sometimes, our colors, the way the light catches, can show highlights or tone and depth to them. Okay. And then maybe for the background, I'll just do a blue. This is going to be really wet for me to go over it with a Sharpie, but we'll see how that works out. So I think I might actually use a bigger paintbrush now. And I'm going to cover the background with water. And I'm just going to kind of illuminate the flower this time just because I'm just demonstrating it for you, but you could go in and do the detail just because I'm on camera and filming. And there's only so much video time here. Okay, so I'm going to add some blues. And see, when it's wet, color just kind of flows here and there. Oops. So you can go back and add some more color where you'd like using your artist's eye. And you can turn your paper, right? Okay. So I might go back and add maybe some little shadows on the flower. And let's see. A bit of my blue went over right there. A bit right there. So my brown didn't really turn up too deep. See if I can add some more color at that point right there. Okay. Now, I take a black marker. Well, again, whatever you have, right? I use what I have, you use what you have. And I rested my hand and made a little hand print on my skin. So this might spread because it's still wet, and I'm just trying to give you an example here, but that's okay. We'll just kind of go with it and see what happens. Maybe I'll make something new. So I'm just going to go over my pencil marks. I turn my paper, and then my wrist starts turning in directions that it wasn't designed to turn in, right? Some of it's kind of not adhering to the paper because it's so wet, but that's okay. You get the idea, right? But if I were just doing this on my own, I would let this dry and then come back and do this part. See if I can make that stand out a little bit more. And then when it's really, really dry, I'll go back with my eraser and erase the pencil marks. But right now, it's probably not gonna do that because it's just too wet. So again, you know, you do whatever you have on hand. So here's a watercolor of a daffodil. Here's a colored pencil of a daffodil. So whatever you happen to have, and study your flower, right? Take a good look at it and observe it. Use your observation skills like a scientist. And I hope you enjoy your nature study.